Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Memes of the Week. The best thing you can do for this channel is beat that like button like it owes you money before watching this, so it reaches a wider audience. Also, before I get on with the memes, first a word from today's sponsor, the MGTOW book collection part 2. Whether you're getting camel toe in Cambodia, banging babes in burqas in Turkey, or taking Polaroids of ladyboys in Thailand, Luca Vendetti has a series of books to make you live the dream. His new 3-booklet series includes How to Live on $500 a Month in Cambodia, Turkey, and Vietnam, in addition to his classic, How to Retire on $200K in Southeast Asia. He also has the MGTOW book. Visit MGTOWbooks.com and use the promo code Sandman to get 10% off. Now available in 4 formats, PDF, Mobi for Kindle, EPUB, and text-to-speech MP3. Sponsor link is down below. And now on with the memes. Number 1, according to the New York Post, they say that big boobs are over. With who? Transformers, perhaps? Oh no, what are all those fatties supposed to do now? That was their biggest selling feature, no pun intended. With the average weight of American women now north of 170 pounds, big boobs aren't going away anytime soon. If you want to know why this article was written in the first place, then look no further than Raquel Lineri, the author sporting her A-cup mosquito bites. Moving on, this Native American says it takes a lot of audacity to stand on stolen land and an occupied continent and complain about immigration. I guess this is the look a man makes when he didn't secure his borders. Imagine Europeans sailing away from this to go to a place with no buildings or bridges and turn America into the most powerful country in the world. The natives live like kings today compared to a few hundred years ago thanks to the Europeans. Number 3, is it true that a woman's worth decreases with every man who has seen her without her clothes on? If this were true, then most women would have a negative value. Many I've been with have had negative value on my life, so maybe this is true after all. I would say it's not just based on showing bare skin, but it's based on how many times she's been boinked. Her ability to bond goes out the window then. But even if she can bond, that doesn't mean she won't nag you into an early grave. Up next, this woman says that she's ashamed of her Caucasian ancestors, because they use violence to secure her a better future and that she doesn't deserve it. Soon she won't exist once she passes away and gets eaten by her cats. At least this one doesn't have fuchsia hair, and it's the Skrillex hairdo instead. Also, lady, don't worry, because I'm sure your ancestors would be ashamed of you too. Also, by the looks of her, it seems like she needs more carbs. Number 5 looks like Zuck the Cuck is showing his true colors by paying Donald Trump $25 million for suspending his account. Trump must be laughing his hiney off as Zuck bends the knee. But that's chump change for Meta, and that's not going to be very genuine. It should be $250 million. Jack Dorsey from Twitter and Google also need to get in line next. Hey guys, the next time a woman asks you to send a dick pic, you know what to do. Moving on, this wild healthcare worker is slapped with a felony after twerking on a disabled person's head. Just in time for Black History Month, I suppose. If you swapped genders and a man had done that, he would have received an assault charge. Also talk about catfishing. She looks like one of them Instagram models on the left, and she looks like Aunt Jemima on the right. Just remember that women like this will be taking care of you in your nursing home. Get ready to get twerked on one day. Number 7, with over a third of game developers having a cooch these days, and the gaming industry producing awful games, they're now pinning their hopes on GTA 6, and hoping people will pay $100 a copy, so that other studios and companies can also raise their prices. Funny how back in the 1980s, we used to pay $60 or $70 for an NES game. That's the equivalent of $190 today. Except back then we actually got a copy of the game that I can still play today, not just a download. Up next, say hello to the It's Not Nutrition, It's Inflammation Starter Pack. If you want to know why you feel awful, it's because screen time elevates your cortisol, which in turn elevates your inflammation. Or you eat foods that spike your blood sugar and that also elevates your inflammation. Inflammation is what causes many diseases and it's invisible. The only reason I know about this is because it triggers my autoimmune conditions. Here's a picture of me trying to dodge everything unhealthy in the current year. Number 9, welcome to Black Pill Dating for Dummies. Sonic says he doesn't use dating apps, and that he meets girls the old-fashioned way, which is never. If you're a young, scrawny, broke bloke, then no one will love you except maybe Broomhilda. But she's like a moped, fun to ride, but you don't want anyone else to see you riding her. For most guys out there, using a dating app is a great way to become an angry incel. Dating apps don't work unless you're in the top 10 to 20% of men out there. Moving on, is it true that if you drew this picture out in real life, the ADL would label it as hate speech? In the days before Elon owned Twitter X, if you posted this, you would have lost your account, and it would have been terminated. Many members of the tribe see hate when there isn't any. One time I used the term shekels when I told a woman from the tribe to trade shekels for subs on her YouTube channel, and she said that was hateful. You can't even talk about their currency by name. It's absolutely crazy. Number 11, I hope you watch Terminator 7, The Revenge of the DEI. But wouldn't a better title be Judgment Day with the judgment followed by DEI instead? Or maybe Revenge of the Lift. In this version, instead of ending us, they're trained to eat us instead. You're digested instead of terminated. I'm sure the film would only last 5 minutes though, with the DEI Terminator getting wrecked by a normal Terminator with a Trump haircut. Up next, according to the LA Mayor Karen Bass, who's also a communist, she's saying that Pacific Palisades neighborhood in LA will be rebuilt by outside consultants in an environmentally sustainable way. And she's going to do this without authorization of property owners. That sounds like communist central planning to me. Remember that she visited Cuba 15 times and was trained by the Cubans. I guess it's fitting that she's the mayor of California's biggest city. Number 13, what happened to Cynthia Erivo? Probably Ozempic and wokeness with that nose ring and all those extra piercings that deflate her head. I also just realized that she doesn't have any eyebrows anymore. Someone needs to help her because it looks like she's got the same disease as Ariana Grande. It looks like it's now contagious. Either that or cocaine was the breakfast of champions on the set of Wicked. She also kind of reminds me of Chris Tucker on the left from The Fifth Element. Moving on, this woman is in court for farting excessively at her boyfriend's ex. She sent her inappropriate videos of the farts. And here I thought that she chased her down and sat on her and then passed gas. She's been charged with assault with a deadly smell. Just kidding. It's just harassment. Considering this is in the UK, I suspect they will either introduce a fart tax shortly or force you to purchase a permit to fart. In the UK, everything will eventually be illegal. Number 15, 80% of single guys are no longer interested in dating, and they aren't even trying. I said this would happen 5 to 10 years ago now. I said 40% of men could actually get a girlfriend, but a bad one so the juice is no longer worth the squeeze for them. And then another 40% of men would become black-pilled incels that couldn't get a girlfriend, and the remaining 20% would just keep on dating. Looks like the math finally checks out. Looks like many of us were just ahead of the curve. Have you seen the women out there? They smell like thrift shops. Up next, here's one of them right now that you don't actually want to be seen dating. She says that if you support or voted for Trump, to unfollow her. Her terms are acceptable if this even is of her. She reminds me of a character that used to be in the Muppet Show that was always after Kermit. Always unfollow Kermit's exes. Am I the only one that thinks the resemblance is uncanny? I think everybody needs to pass on this old twat waffle. Number 17, Elizabeth Warren melts down saying that Big Pharma will go bankrupt if it's forced to pay vaccine victims. RFK Jr. being confirmed means he's going to hold the drug companies accountable for injuries, supposedly. She pretends to fight for the people but has been seen receiving payments from corporations and was pretending not to until People Community noted her on Twitter X. The old school politicians probably hate that they can't hide their bribes anymore. Moving on, in the end, it looks like Carlton won, but some of his kids don't even look black. Who does he think he is? Michael Jackson. Looks like Carlton played the long game and won. You don't see his kids running around wearing houses on their heads now, do you? Some people seem to think that Carlton's wife cheated and the two of the kids here aren't his because they're blonde. But people need to relax because the dude's printer just ran out of ink on the youngest two. Number 19, some people say that this is the difference between a woman that thinks she's a 10 and one that actually is. But neither of them are 10s. The one on the left is a 3 or maybe 4, and on the one on the right is a 7. I guess the point is that they all think they're 10, so they deserve a man that's a 10 as well. The closest the one on the left will ever come to a 10 is the 10 pounds of makeup that she's wearing. Up next, here's liberal logic for you. If people enter a building illegally, then they must face the consequences. Yet the same liberals cry when you deport people that entered the country itself illegally. They want the illegals to stay to give them voting power. They're just as bad as guys like Jordan Peterson and Dave Shapiro on the right telling guys to get married because married women are more likely to also vote for the right. I'm so sick and tired of this political nonsense. Number 21, is this a picture of the USA losing the tariff war in Canada? It's not. It's probably price gouging and Americans will soon be paying more than $1 an egg. I guess it also might have something to do with the ever-growing number of chickens killed every day because of the bird flu. Here's something that's really going to mess with Americans. Because of the lower Canadian dollar, the price in American dollars for a dozen eggs in Canada is only $2.71. Moving on, here are a whole bunch of refugees that lost their passports and IDs, but somehow managed to keep their phones and cigarettes. Maybe the fix is simple. Just tell them to go back home and not return until they find their documents. It also makes me wonder which NGO provided them all those phones. Part of the strategy for migrants is to shred their IDs because it helps exploit loopholes in the asylum laws. And because of that, they evade deportation. Number 23, you know this isn't going to end well. The FAA turned away qualified air traffic controllers solely based on race. Whatever happened to having a merit-based society? Martin Luther King must be rolling over in his grave right now. Luckily, DEI air traffic controllers weren't responsible for the crash over DC, between the helicopter and plane. But it looks like a female helicopter pilot might be responsible for it after all. Let's wait for the reports. Up next, here's what it's like when a woman chooses an insult. It's like she's spinning a wheel or using a random insult generator as an NPC. Only once in my life do I want to hear a woman using a creative insult instead of just copying one they've heard someplace else. Although this one is missing a few insults. They also tend to call you gay or short. This type of woman usually has pronouns in her bio and never matures past the age of 12. Number 25 and the last one, what the hell happened to Justin Bieber? Maybe too much baby oil in Diddy parties. Did Diddy diddle his derriere? Try saying that 3 times fast. Did Diddy diddle his derriere? He's only 31 and looks more like he's 51. It's probably number 10. He did drugs. A lot of drugs. What's your score on this list? Mine is 88 and I did everything on this list except for kissing someone of the same sex and getting arrested. So that's it for another Memes of the Week. Please give this video a like to push it up in the algorithm and so new viewers can find it. If you enjoy this series and want me to keep making it, then donate at the PayPal and Subscribe Star links below. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.